The War at Home, Episode 1, The Return. The evening rain fell gently across the streets of Houston as a black military vehicle stopped in front of a quiet suburban home. Captain Daniel Hayes sat silently inside. After years of military service overseas, he was finally home. The war had changed him, not only physically but emotionally. He had seen loss, fear, and sacrifices that most people could never imagine. Yet through every difficult moment, one thought kept him moving forward. Vanessa, his wife. The woman he believed would always stand beside him. Daniel adjusted the blanket covering his legs and slowly gripped the wheelchair handles beside him. Although he had recovered from his injuries months earlier, he had chosen to keep one secret hidden. He could walk perfectly fine. But after discovering troubling messages between Vanessa and another man during his recovery, Daniel decided to return home pretending to still be disabled. Not out of revenge, but to learn the truth. The front door opened slowly. Vanessa stepped outside wearing a soft cream-colored sweater. Her eyes widened the moment she saw him. Daniel! For a brief second, emotion crossed her face. Then it disappeared almost immediately. Daniel noticed. Till he forced a gentle smile. I'm home. Vanessa walked forward and hugged him lightly, though something about it felt distant. I'm glad you made it back safely, she said quietly. Inside the house, everything looked the same. The framed wedding photos still decorated the walls. The small piano Daniel bought years ago remained in the corner untouched. But the warmth he once felt there was gone. Over the next few days, Daniel observed carefully. Vanessa was polite but distracted. She spent long hours on her phone, often smiling at messages she quickly hid whenever Daniel looked her way. Sometimes she returned home late with excuses that sounded rehearsed. Dinner with friends. Shopping took longer than expected. Traffic was terrible. Daniel never argued. Instead, he listened. Watched. Waited. One evening, Vanessa stood near the kitchen window while speaking softly on the phone. I can't keep doing this forever, she whispered. Daniel remained still upstairs, unable to hear the full conversation. But something inside him began to break. That night, while Vanessa slept, Daniel sat alone in the living room staring at the wedding ring on his finger. The battlefield overseas had prepared him for many things. But not this. Not the possibility of losing the person he trusted most.
Lately, Vanessa.
I'm just tired, that's all.
Sometimes it feels like you're somewhere else even when you're here.
Truths.
You're overthinking
The
things.
following week became harder for Daniel. The more he paid attention, the more distant Vanessa seemed. Whenever visitors came over, she acted like the perfect wife, kind, caring, supportive. She helped Daniel move around the house and smiled warmly in front of others. But once they were alone again, silence filled the home. One afternoon, Vanessa entered the living room dressed elegantly in a red outfit Daniel had never seen before. You look nice, Daniel said calmly. She paused for a moment. Oh, thank you. Going somewhere special? Just meeting some friends. Daniel nodded gently. All right. Be careful. After she left, Daniel sat quietly for several minutes before making a difficult decision. He contacted a private investigator. Not because he wanted drama. Not because he wanted revenge. He simply wanted the truth. Days later, the investigator arrived with a sealed envelope. Daniel opened it slowly. Inside were photographs, messages, dates, records. His hands trembled as he looked through them. Vanessa had been meeting another man regularly during his deployment overseas. The report showed expensive dinners, hotel visits, and private meetings that stretched back months. Daniel leaned back quietly. His chest tightened, but he refused to let anger control him. He had faced danger before. This pain was different. Later that evening, Vanessa returned home smiling while checking her phone. For the first time in years, Daniel noticed how unfamiliar she seemed. How was your day? She asked casually. Peaceful, Daniel replied softly. Vanessa nodded and walked toward the kitchen. As she passed by, her phone lit up briefly. A message appeared on the screen. I miss you already. Daniel looked away before she noticed. That night, sleep never came.
She said she would spend the evening alone.
You worry too much.
I
The
still think
moment
he
everything
suspects me.
changed.
Rain tapped softly against the windows as Daniel sat alone upstairs. Downstairs, he heard laughter. A man's voice. Then Vanessa's. Earlier that day, Vanessa told him she would be spending the evening alone with a friend. But Daniel now knew the truth. Carefully, he stood up from his chair and walked silently toward the staircase. Below, Vanessa sat comfortably beside a man named Marcus. The same man from the investigation reports. Neither of them noticed Daniel listening nearby. Marcus glanced around the house. So, he still believes everything? Vanessa sighed quietly. He doesn't suspect anything. Marcus shook his head. I still can't believe you stayed this long. Vanessa looked down for a moment before speaking softly. Things changed after the war. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. For the first time, he heard honesty in her voice. Not cruelty, not mockery, just distance, pain, and emotional separation neither of them had spoken about. Marcus stood up. You deserve happiness, too. Before Vanessa could respond, footsteps echoed from the staircase. Both of them froze. Daniel slowly walked into the room. Without the wheelchair. Without assistance. Vanessa's face turned pale. Daniel? Marcus stepped backward in shock. You can walk. Daniel looked at them calmly. Yes. Silence filled the room. Vanessa stared at him, confused and emotional all at once. You were pretending? Daniel nodded slowly. I needed to understand whether this marriage was still real. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Daniel placed a folder gently on the table. Inside were the investigation reports, financial records, and divorce documents prepared days earlier. Among them was another truth Vanessa had never known. Daniel had become extremely wealthy through successful investments made years before the war. But none of that mattered to him anymore. Money could not repair trust. Vanessa lowered her eyes. I never wanted things to end like this, she whispered. Daniel's voice remained calm. Neither did I. No shouting. No violence. No revenge. Just two people standing in the ruins of something they once loved. And in that quiet moment, Daniel realized something important. Sometimes the hardest battles are not fought on the battlefield, but inside the heart and home.